We're joined now by Douglas Smith. He's a former Assistant Secretary for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and he's currently a managing partner at Kent Strategies. A lot to get here to you, Doug. National Guard troops heading to the border. Will it really be up to states? Trump is saying that he wants these guys to be at the border until a wall is built. How realistic is that?
I think it's incredibly unrealistic. I mean, let's first start with the interesting thing that the governors are saying. If you want our National Guardsmen, you can start paying for it. So these governors aren't volunteering it up. So there are a lot of technicalities that need to come into it. In 2006, when President Bush did it, we saw a price tag somewhere around $1.2, $1.3 billion. President Obama did it in 2010, far fewer, still expensive. There's no practical reason for them to come. We are seeing a record number of lows of people who have been detained at the border. It continues to go down. I think President Trump is just looking for something to sort of wave out there and throw a problem at a solution that he doesn't need. If you talk to the Border Patrol and the people working down there, there are things they do need. They need more drones, they need greater resources, better vehicles, better paved roads for them to do their jobs. The last thing that they need is to be babysitting a bunch of troops that actually won't ever be involved in the fight. They are not allowed to interdict anyone who comes across. So they have to stand back, let the Border Patrol do their job. So when it's all said and done, it's a highly costly and inefficient system that the president is putting out there that will actually achieve nothing.
And it sounds like realistically there's a chance we may not see any National Guard troops at the border at all. Look, he's trying to send a message to his base, but what message is he sending to Latin America? He's making his first trip to Latin America next week at the Summit of Americas. He's going to run into the Mexican president.
I mean, I think he's doing, at best, ignorance. At worst, he's just showing just absolute arrogance and lack of compassion for why these people are coming. To put it in perspective, as your correspondent was referencing for the citizens from Honduras, Honduras experiences a murder rate 10 times greater than the United States. The United States is roughly 6 per 100,000. In Honduras, it's 60 per 100,000. They're scared. They're coming here. Rather than trying to sort of create a problem that's not there, if the president really wanted to do something, he could reach out to Mexico and say, hey, let me write a check right now. Let me give you some money to give food and housing to these folks. Let's figure out a solution. Let's buy a little bit of time. He would win friends in Mexico. He would win friends in Honduras. And quite honestly, he'd be okay with his base because he's saying, hey, look, I'm not letting him cross the border, but I'm showing some American compassion to try to solve the situation.
So how are these Latin American leaders supposed to receive him? Again, this is his first trip down there. He's going to run into Mexico. Where do relations stand between the U.S. and the region?
I mean, I think at an all-time, I don't know if it's as bad since Santa Anna invaded Texas. I mean, it isn't a bad, it's a bad situation right now. I mean, I can only imagine that many of the Mexican leaders are sitting there firing up their Twitter accounts, getting ready to figure out what to push out there. Well, you have a president that has shown an unwillingness to focus on the truth. It becomes very difficult. We saw that in his negotiations with the Prime Minister of Canada. He will just make things up. I think it puts the Mexican leaders, the Central American leaders in a real challenging position when they're trying to have dialogue with a man who has so little willingness to embrace the truth and grasp it. There are some complicated issues. I mean, the migrant issue through Central America that happens every year this time of year during the Holy Week, this is not something new, is a big challenge. It's a challenge for Mexico. It's a challenge for the Hondurans and Nicaraguans. They're looking for a solution. They're not looking for empty rhetoric.
All right, Douglas Smith, great to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.